back. Now, there have been issues on the sidelines of the digital migration with misconceptions about the entire process. Earlier on, we had spoken to Mr. Eli Ndigwa, the project manager of Signet, to give us their side of the story and some of the misconceptions that they have had to face.
Kenyans still have misconceptions. What are some of them that you feel you should correct right now?
There is understanding or feeling of members that digital migration is a pay TV issue, which is far from it. The digital migration is migrating the current analog television stations, as people know them, to a new platform without necessarily have to pay monthly. But there has been a misconception that people will be forced to pay every month. Signet has about 40 TV stations, which are free to air. So long as you get a set-top box that is compliant, a set-top box that is a free-to-air set-top box, you will be able to receive 40 TV channels. And these ones will increase. And I know they may increase even up to 100. These are channels that are available free of charge, but a misconception that it is all a pay. There are people who are doing pay TV, and they have been licensed to do pay TV, terrestrial. And so they are doing that as a business, and this is to facilitate, maybe to fast track the issue of migration. But I think Kenyans have not understood. So when you go out there, you feel people saying, no, we don't want to pay monthly. So we are trying to explain to them that it is not a pay thing. The services that you have been getting as TV, the TV services that you have been getting, you will still continue to get them on the digital platform, free of charge from you. Because what has happened is that under the new regime now in the digital migration, there are two distributors. And of course, it doesn't make sense to have maybe 20 of them. Yes. Because again, one transmitter carries 20 TV stations. So the two distributors who are distributing the signal, they are supposed to provide a platform for those who have the free-to-air channels as licensed by CAK, and then also to provide a platform for those who are doing the pay TV services. So those are two distinct areas.
There have also been a misconception that Signet is a source of some of the set-top boxes that are being sold off.
Yeah, that is also has been a misconception. We have been trying to correct that when people call us and ask us where they can get the Signet set-top box. What we've been telling people, and we want people to understand, is Signet is our distributor of content. Now, there are over 60 licensed free-to-air set-top box suppliers in Kenya. Yes. And so for Signet, we distribute the content and leave the people who are bringing in the set-top boxes to distribute the boxes. Because again, as Signet, we may not be able to satisfy the market if, for example, we decided to go to the set-top box. And for us, that was not our line. We wanted to give also the Kenyans the variety. Because again, there has been an issue of the more you license, the more people are licensed, the cheaper the boxes become because of competition. And so that is left purely to the market. And so I think there are only 2 pay TV providers and over 60 free-to-air set-top box providers in Kenya today.
Now, Mr. Mbogwa, you said something very interesting during the break, that these small contentions should not really be the focus. What we need to look at, what should be the context of what anyone is talking about or thinking about, is the migration itself. So I want you to highlight some of the good things, because all we've been hearing is misconceptions, confusions. This digital migration is trying to do this, communication authorities being partisan. I want you to share and sensitize the viewers on the good things that are coming with the digital migration, other than, the accessibility to a wide array of channels, and also, to service providers.
First, before I enter into that, let me state that the truth of the whole thing is that people want to delay the change. If you have been enjoying the past, you want that past to continue. The time has come to change, and we must, all of us, accept, first of all, that this change has to happen. If you don't accept the change, you become like dinosaurs, which were not able to adapt to change, and they became extinct. That is the first thing I wanted to say. The world over, this change was seen as necessary. It was not just one of those things to please somebody somewhere. Now, if we take that to be the main theme, then we would be asking ourselves, how do we move to this digital? All of us. But there are many advantages to digital. For instance, very simple people without a lot of money, like before. When I was working for Royal Media, yes, we were spending billions to set up infrastructure. And the infrastructure is not the content. And so, this liberalization ensures that you can have only a studio like this. You don't need to put masts all over Kenya. Just like you know, social media is an individual trying to say, I want my own little media, which I have control. Similarly, this is a bigger, you may call it the bigger social media. And you can just say, the content is the only important thing for me. And that we are losing the most important, which is the content. Content is the one that will influence people. Content is what you will sell to the advertisers. Content is what will enrich our societies. It is not the infrastructure. This is like to say that if you have a pipe of water and it doesn't have water, you are okay. You need the water to flow, which is the content. The other advantage is the diversity. When we had only KBC alone in the whole of Kenya, the society had not grown in terms of democratization, in terms of information, knowing how to farm in many different ways, creating a market of ideas. With this expansion, we are creating a huge market of ideas. And from that market, Kenyans can go and find the potato they want of information. They will find the matoke. They will find all the type of information they want. And so, if it is a good idea, all of us should be making all the effort to create that market of ideas. All these, you see the side shows, they are like, we want to stay a little bit more in the old order. That to me is the truth about all these issues.
Let me ask you, why do you think it's been so easy to push these misconceptions to the Kenyan public?
Yeah.
Because even as we're talking during the break, I realized that there are some things that I was not particularly informed about, even as I came to this interview. So why has it been so easy to confuse or put all these questions in the minds of Kenyans, you know?
Why it has been, and thank you, this is a very good question, is that we are charged as media houses with the responsibility of informing people fairly and objectively. That has always been the role of the media. What has happened is very unusual. because the media that had control of, say, 80% decides, we don't like that idea. Not the people saying they don't like. Few individuals in the media houses, they say, we don't like that idea to go into the marketplace where people will debate it. So they refuse deliberately to give everybody a fair chance of exposure. For instance, CAK tried to give them even money to push education for digitization. And they said, we are not doing it. If now we 30 other media houses, we called them for a press conference, they did not come. Myself, I would like to debate with them. And we must allow everybody a chance. Let the people judge, but don't kind of skew some information in a certain way such that people are not able to debate. So that has been a challenge, and it's anti-media. All over the world, media is supposed to be objective, and there is no objectivity.
Now we know that the Africa Digital Network has come out strongly saying that the moves by the Communication Authority is a means to sort of muzzle the media. What do you have to say in response to that?
My response first, I know Kenyans, they know I'm one of the people who fought for the freedom of press until I went even to the worst jail called Manyani. We stood firm that we must have participation of the many media houses. We must have access to information, even government. And so as I speak here, I feel deeply moved when I see even media houses taking us back to where we were. So I think, to me, the way forward, because that is the most important thing, is to say, ladies and gentlemen of press, or owners of press, let's do the first thing first. Let's move fast to digital. And let's not debate about, because that is already foregone. Then, after we have moved to digital, if you want more frequencies and you feel you are not treated fairly, take that matter specifically that so-and-so has more. That way, we have differentiated what is important and what is periphery. Then, I think as media houses, we must recognize that the role of regulator becomes necessary because we are many. And like I said, in the other interview, is that there is frequency for police and the other security organs. There are frequencies for aviation. And all these, if you interfere, for instance, with the one for aviation, an aircraft could kill 200, 300 people. And if the regulation is not tight, those kind of things happen. So we agree that we respect regulator, because if we don't, what do we put there as an alternative? It's like courts. If we say, let's throw the courts, what do you put there as an alternative?
Okay.
So we need to say we support their position, but then if they act irregularly, then you can go to arbitrator like court.
Okay. Now, Sir Alex, there's been a very, very serious misconception about free-to-air TV and paying to access is free-to-air. I mean, if it's free-to-air, why are we paying? Can we just set the record straight right now? Do you have to pay to receive a free-to-air? What are these allegations of paying? If there's a payment to be made, you know, when is it made? Monthly subscriptions? Demystify it all. I need my viewers to get it clear, briefly, of course.
Yes. No, as you have put it, it is a misconception, and it is misinformation that has been spread out by the people who are opposed to this transition. Because basically, if you look at what is in the market, is that the consumer has a choice, either to enroll to a pay television option or to a free-to-air option. And even if you enroll to a pay television option, as Mr. Ambani mentioned, is that the program is developed in a way that you don't have to acquire a pay television set-top box and then you have to acquire another free-to-air set-top box. You just acquire one set-top box. If you want to access the international channels, then that's when you subscribe, because even the pay television platforms like StarTimes also pay the content developers who develop those channels. But if you are accessing the local channels, then you don't pay a cent. You are supposed to continue accessing free-to-air channels for free, for good. And that is available, for example, on StarTimes platform.
So the only cost you incur is buying the set-top box?
Exactly.
Now, to how much ideally would it cost to acquire this set-top box with free-to-air? I don't want to pay it again for the rest of my life. How much am I set to spend just off the cuff?
The average price is around 4,000. And in our case, the StarTimes set-top box is 4,000. But look at what you are getting when you acquire the set-top box at 4,000 Kenya shillings, is that this is a set-top box that is giving you an option. If at some point you feel that you need to access the international channels, then you'll have just to pay whichever subscription that you find to be convenient or affordable to you, that is to your preference. When you don't want to subscribe, you continue accessing the free-to-air channels for good. So this is a set-top box that you will say it is a paid television set-top box if you wish to, and it is a free-to-air set-top box if you just want to continue watching channels for free.
All right. Now, Mr. Ambani, back to you. Yours are the hard questions. 4,000 shillings is a cost, as you know, common mwananchi ideally will have to incur 4,000 shillings. Not everyone can afford 4,000 shillings. And I think one of the agreements in the Supreme Court ruling, because I was in court that day actually, was that they would find a way to subsidize acquiring these set-top boxes to make it accessible to everyone. Has the authority done anything to that regard, or are we still politicking with the ADN? You know, how are we making this easy for, you know, common mwananchi?
Thank you for that question. Just to put the record straight, the regulator has no business in politics. Ours is regulation, and that's what we do. And we are not very popular because people have to follow the law.
The rules.
We enforce the law to the letter, and that's why we become very unpopular and are not understood. But maybe let me just take you a little bit back. In 2007, when we first had the first trial digital network here in this country, actually it was in 2007, just immediately after the Geneva 2006 agreement. The set-top boxes at that time were costing 15,000 shillings. There was a pay TV provider here called Oxygen. They had about less than 10 channels, but that's how much the set-top box was costing, 15,000. When we began to pilot now with Signet in 2009, the prices had slightly come down to about 10,000. Now what happened is that at that point in time, the regulator, together with the Ministry of Information, Communication and Technology, made proposals. Of course, we had what we call the Digital Television Committee, which was now looking at the implementation of the migration as recommended by the task force. And one of the areas that we focused in terms of making a recommendation to the central government was to ensure that they consider removing taxes, the taxes on the set-top boxes, so as to bring down the prices. Other mechanisms have been used in other countries. Like for example, in the US, they have had a coupon system where each household is given 2 coupons, which you exchange for about $40. You exchange for a set-top box, which would cost maybe about $50. So you just add on $10. But we looked at that option in this country. It won't work. If you give somebody a coupon of 3,000 or 2,000 shillings, they would rather exchange that coupon for money or food as opposed to a set-top box. So the best approach was to have a removal of duty, and which the government and across the East African region, the import duty was removed. That was waived, and that translated in about 25% reduction in the prices. So with that move, what happened is the prices came down much lower to about 8,000 to 6,000. Now, one of the roles of the authority is to type, approve, and license vendors. Before, there were only maybe 2, 3, about 5 vendors who were selling set-top boxes. The prices were very, very, very high. And what we have done is that we have fully liberalized the markets for supply of set-top boxes. As I speak now, we have authorized over 70 vendors and over 65 models of set-top boxes, over 15 models of integrated digital TVs which can receive the digital signal directly. So there is a lot of variety in terms of the consumers. And when you liberalize a sector, just like the mobile phone, you find that there is a lot of competition out there, and market forces drive the prices down. And as my colleague from StarTimes was saying, because he's selling a particular product, so he can only talk about the product he's selling. But as a regulator, we are there for the consumer, to protect consumer and give information to the consumer. We do actually market research in terms of prices, and we have that information on our website. And the lowest priced set-top box at the moment, which is free to air, now goes for just about 3,000 shillings. So there are boxes which are free to air, which are going out there for 3,000 shillings. Now, the Supreme Court made certain recommendations, and mark you, they're just recommendations. And the recommendation they made was that the signal distributors look for a way of bringing the prices of set-top boxes down.
Yeah.
Now, we have advised the Supreme Court as an authority, because we looked at, they are not experts in this area, but they made a recommendation which was good. We have done what we could in terms of reduction of duty as government, and liberalization, fully liberalizing the market, and there is no limit. There are more players who are bringing boxes, and we are approving them if they meet the standards. But what our advice is, the signal distributor has no role in supply of set-top boxes. So basically, in terms of trying to bring the prices down, it would be very difficult for a signal distributor to intervene. But as an authority, moving forward, there are many interventions which the authority would want to look at. In fact, moving forward, one of the things that the authority is setting up is what we call Universal Service Fund. This is a fund which operators will contribute to. And when operators contribute a certain amount of money to this fund, part of the proceeds in that fund can then be used to try and subsidize set-top boxes for the poorest of the poor. I'm sure we'll reach a point when we'll be able to, at this point, I don't think there's no data, the poorest of the poor. But when this fund, it has not been operationalized, but the process is on. I'm sure when it's operational, that is one of the areas it can be used to intervene. And I believe that even government is also looking at some of the other interventions that could help to assist. But just to add, if you give me a minute, I think there's also a misconception that set-top boxes are expensive, and I'm going to explain this. Kenyans, me and you, have mobile phones. In a family, an average family of 5, you'll find the mother has a phone, the father has a phone, maybe the daughter or the son has a phone. Or all of us, all the 5 people have phones. Now, that's a gadget that everyone has. If you look at the price of these gadgets, as a family, you may find an average phone might cost about 3,000 or to 5,000, and some even have smartphones, which are much more expensive.
Yes, so, Mr. Mbani. So I get it that steps are going to be made for the argument that it is inaccessible, that
Yes.
people can't afford it, that steps will be made, that this is a journey. It's a migration process. Migration is not instant. It doesn't just happen at the drop of a hat. And I'm so thankful that you have come, because I'm looking at how much information I've gotten out of this interview, and I'm thinking that the viewers are pretty sensitized as well. I think the record has been set straight. It might require a bit of patience, tolerance, and resistance, of course, for you people who happen to be on the bad side of the giant three. But it's a process that we will go through. You've heard it for yourself here on News in Focus that it is something that will be made easy. Kenyans will be able to access it, and if anything, it has more benefit as opposed to the costs and the cons that have been given in the debate of digital migration. I'm Kamena Goros. Thank you so much for staying tuned to EBRU Africa TV. Do have yourself an absolutely lovely night.